The first branch of the Mabinogi. Pwyll, Prince of Dyfed, was lord over the 7 cantrefs of Dyfed. Once upon a time he was at Arbyrth, one of his chief courts, and it came into his head and his heart to go hunting. The part of his realm he wanted to hunt was Glencoe. He set out that night from Arbyrth and came as far as Pwyll and stayed there that night. And early the next day he got up and came to Glencoe to unleash his dogs in the forest. And he blew his horn and he began to muster the hunt, and went off after the dogs and became separated from his companions. And as he was listening for the cry of his pack, he heard the cry of another pack. But these had a different cry, and they were coming towards his own pack. And he could see a clearing in the forest, a level field, and his own pack was reaching the edge of the clearing. He saw a stag in the front of the other pack. And towards the middle of the clearing, the pack that was chasing caught up with the stag and brought it to the ground. Then Pwyll looked at the colour of the pack, and without bothering to look at the stag, and of all the hounds he had seen in the world, he had never seen dogs of this colour. They were a gleaming, shining white, and their ears were red. And as the whiteness of the dogs shone, so did the redness of their ears. Then he came to the dogs and drove away the pack that had killed the stag, and fed his own pack on it. As he was feeding the dogs, he could see a rider coming after the pack on a large dapple-grey horse, with a hunting horn round his neck, and wearing hunting clothes of a light grey material. Then the rider came up to him and spoke to him like this. "Sir," he said, "I know who you are, but I will not greet you." "Well," said Pwyll, "perhaps your rank is such that you are not obliged to." "God knows," he said, "it is not the level of my rank that prevents me." "What else, sir?" said Pwyll. "Between me and God," he said, "your own lack of manners and discourtesy." "What discourtesy, sir, have you seen in me?" "I've seen no greater discourtesy in a man," he said, "than to drive away the pack that had killed the stag and feed your own pack on it. That," he said, "was discourtesy. And although I will not take revenge upon you, between me and God," he said, "I will bring shame upon you to the value of 100 stags." "Sir," said Pwyll, "if I have done wrong, I will redeem your friendship." "How will you redeem it?" he replied. "According to your rank, but I do not know who you are." "I am a crowned king in the land that I come from." "Lord," said Pwyll, "good day to you. And which land do you come from?" "Prymanwfn," he replied. "I am Arawn, king of Anwfn." "Lord," said Pwyll, "how shall I win your friendship?" "This is how," he replied. "A man whose territory is next to mine is forever fighting me. He is Hafgan, a king from Anwfn. By ridding me of that oppression, and you can do that easily, you will win my friendship." "I will do that gladly," said Pwyll. "Tell me how I can do it." "I will," he replied. "This is how. I will make a firm alliance with you. What I shall do is put you in my place in Anwfn and give you the most beautiful woman you have ever seen to sleep with you every night, and give you my face and form so that no chamberlain nor officer nor any other person who has ever served me shall know that you are not me. All this," he said, "from tomorrow until the end of the year, and then we shall meet again in this place." "Well and good," Pwyll replied, "but even if I am there until the end of the year, how will I find the man of whom you speak?" "A year from tonight," Arawn said, "there is a meeting between him and me at the ford. Be there in my shape," he said, "and you must give him only one blow. He will not survive it. And although he may ask you to give him another, you must not, however much he begs you, because no matter how many more blows I gave him, the next day he was fighting against me as well as before." "Well and good," said Pwyll, "but what shall I do with my realm?" "I shall arrange that no man or woman in your realm realises that I am not you, and I will take your place," said Arawn. "Gladly," said Pwyll, "and I will go on my way. Your path will be smooth, and nothing will hinder you until you get to my land, and I will escort you." Arawn escorted Pwyll until he saw the court and dwelling places. "There is the court and the realm under your authority," he said. "Make for the court. There is no one there who will not recognise you, and as you observe the service there, you'll come to know the custom of the court." He made his way to the court. He saw sleeping quarters there, and halls and rooms, and the most beautifully adorned buildings that anyone had seen. And he went to the hall to take off his boots. Chamberlains and young lads came to remove his boots, and everyone greeted him as they arrived. 2 knights came to remove his hunting clothes and to dress him in a golden garment of brocaded silk. The hall was got ready. With that he could see a war band and retinues coming in, and the fairest and best equipped men that anyone had ever seen, and the queen with them, the most beautiful woman that anyone had seen, wearing a golden garment of shining brocaded silk. Then they went to wash and went to the tables, and sat like this, the queen on his one side, and the earl, he supposed, on the other. And he and the queen began to converse, and as he conversed with her, he found her to be the most noble woman, and the most gracious of disposition and discourse he had ever seen. They spent the time eating and drinking, singing and carousing. Of all the courts he had seen on earth, that was the court with most food and drink, and golden vessels and royal jewels. Time came for them to go to sleep, and they went to sleep, he and the queen. As soon as they got into bed, he turned his face to the edge of the bed, and his back to her. From then to the next day he did not say a word to her. The next day there was tenderness and friendly conversation between them. Whatever affection existed between them during the day, not a single night until the end of the year was different from the first night. He spent the year hunting and singing and carousing, and in friendship and conversation with companions until the night of the meeting. On that night, the meeting was as well remembered by the inhabitant in the remotest part of the realm as it was by him. So he came to the meeting, accompanied by the noblemen of his realm. As soon as he came to the ford, a knight got up and spoke like this. "Noblemen," he said, "listen carefully. This confrontation is between the 2 kings, and between their 2 persons alone. Each one is making a claim against the other regarding land and territory. All of you should stand aside and leave the fighting between the 2 of them." With that, the 2 kings approached each other towards the middle of the ford for the fight. And at the first attack, the man who was in Araun's place strikes Halfdan in the centre of the boss of his shield, so that it splits in half, and all his armour shatters. And Halfdan is thrown the length of his arm and spear shaft over his horse's crupper to the ground, suffering a fatal blow. "Lord," said Halfdan, "what right did you have to my death? I was claiming nothing from you, nor do I know of any reason for you to kill me, but for God's sake," he said, "since you have begun, then finish." "Lord," said the other, "I may regret doing what I did to you. Find someone else who will kill you. I will not kill you." "My faithful nobleman," said Halfdan, "take me away from here. My death is now certain. There is no way I can support you any longer." "And my nobleman," said the man who was in Araun's place, "take advice and find out who should become vassals of mine." "Lord," said the nobleman, "everyone should, for there is no king over the whole of Anufn except you." "Indeed," he said, "those who come submissively, it is right to receive them. Those who do not come willingly, we will force them by the power of the sword." Then he received the men's allegiance and began to take over the land, and by noon the following day both kingdoms were under his authority. Then Pwyll set off for his meeting place and came to Glencoch. And when he got there, Araun, king of Anufn, was there to meet him. Each one was glad to see the other. "Indeed," said Araun, "may God repay you for your friendship. I have heard about it." "Well," said the other, "when you yourself return to your country, you will see what I have done for you." "What have you done for me?" he said. "May God repay you for it." Then Araun gave to Pwyll, Prince of Dyfed, his proper form and features, and he himself took back his own. And Araun set off to his court in Anun, and he was happy to see his men and his retinue, for he had not seen them for a year. They, however, had not missed him, and his arrival was no more of a novelty than before. He spent that day pleasurably and happily sitting and conversing with his wife and his nobleman. When it was more appropriate to sleep than carouse, they went to sleep. He went to his bed, and his wife went with him. The first thing he did was to converse with his wife and indulge in affectionate play and make love to her. And she had not been accustomed to that for a year, and reflected on that. "Dear God," she said, "why is his mood different tonight from what it has been for the past year?" And she deliberated for a long time. And after that he woke up and spoke to her, and a second time and a third, but she did not answer him. "Why won't you answer me?" he said. "I tell you," she said, "that I have not spoken as much as this for a year in this bed." "How can that be?" he said. "We've always talked." "Shame on me," she said, "if there has been between us for the past year, from the time we were wrapped up in the bedclothes, either pleasure or conversation. Or have you turned your face to me, let alone anything more than that?" And then he thought, "Dear Lord God," he said, "I had a friend whose loyalty was steadfast and secure." And then he said to his wife, "Lady," he said, "do not blame me. Between me and God," he said, "I've neither slept nor lain down with you for the past year." And then he told her the whole story. "I confess to God," she said, "you struck a firm bargain for your friend to have fought off the temptations of the flesh and kept his word to you." "Lady," he said, "those were my very thoughts while I was silent just now." "No wonder," she said. Then Pwyll, Prince of Dyfed, came to his realm and his land, and he began to question the noblemen of the land as to how he had ruled over them during the past year compared with how he had ruled before that. "Lord," they said, "never have you been so perceptive, never have you been such a kind young man, never have you been so ready to distribute your wealth, never have you ruled better than during this year." "Between me and God," he said, "it is right for you to thank the man who was with you. This is the story how it happened." Pwyll told them everything. "Well, Lord," they said, "thank God you had that friendship, and the rule we have had this year, surely you will not take it from us?" "I will not, between me and God," said Pwyll. From that time on, Pwyll and Rhiannon began to build up their friendship, and sent each other horses and hunting dogs and hawks, and whatever treasure they thought would please the other. And because he had stayed that year in Anufn, and had ruled there so successfully, and united the two realms through his courage and prowess, the name Pwyll, Prince of Dyfed, fell into disuse, and he was called Pwyll pen Anufn from then on. Once upon a time Pwyll was at Arbeth, one of his chief courts, where a feast had been prepared for him, and there was a large retinue of men with him. After the first sitting, Pwyll got to take a walk, and he made for the top of a mound that was above the court, called Gorsedd Arbeth. "Lord," said one of the court, "the strange thing about the mound is that whatever nobleman sits on it will not leave there without one of two things happening. Either he will be wounded or injured, or else he will see something wonderful." "I'm not afraid to be wounded or injured among such a large company as this. As for something wonderful, I would be glad to see that. I will go and sit on the mound," he said. He sat on the mound, and as they were sitting, they could see a woman wearing a shining golden garment of brocaded silk on a big, tall, pale white horse coming along the highway that ran past the mound. Anyone who saw it would think that the horse had a slow, steady pace, and it was drawing level with the mound. "Men," said Pwyll, "do any of you recognise the rider?" "No, Lord," they said. "Let someone go and meet her to find out who she is," he said. One of them got up, but when he came to the road to meet her, she had gone past. He followed her as fast as he could on foot, but she had greater speed than his, the further she drew away from him. When he saw that it was useless to pursue her, he returned to Pwyll and said to him, "Lord," he said, "it is useless for anyone in the world to pursue her on foot." "Very well," said Pwyll, "go to the court and take the fastest horse that you know of, and go after her." He took the horse, and off he went, and he came to the open level plain, and set spurs to the horse, and the more he spurred the horse, the further she drew away from him. She was going at the same pace as when she had started. His horse became tired, and when he realised that his horse's pace was failing, he returned to where Pwyll was. "Lord," he said, "it is useless for anyone to pursue that rider over there. I know of no faster horse in the realm than this one, yet it was useless for me to pursue her." "Yes," replied Pwyll, "there is some magical explanation here. Let us return to the court." They came to the court and passed that day. The next day they got up and passed that too, until it was time to go and eat. And after the first sitting, "Well," said Pwyll, "Let those of us who went yesterday go to the top of the mound. And you," he said to one of his young lads, "bring along the fastest horse you know of in the field." And the young lad did that. They made for the mound together with the horse. And as they were about to sit down, they saw the lady on the same horse and wearing the same garment, coming along the same road. "Here is yesterday's rider," said Pwyll. "Be ready, lad," he said, "to find out who she is." "Lord," he said, "I shall do that gladly." With that the rider drew level with them. Then the young lad mounted the horse, but before he had settled himself in his saddle, she had gone past, putting a fair distance between them. Her pace was no different to the day before. He set his horse to amble, and he thought that although his horse was going slowly, he would catch up with her. But that was futile. He gave his horse its head. He was no closer to her than if he were on foot, and the more he spurred his horse, the further she drew away from him. Her pace was no faster than before. Since he saw that it was futile for him to pursue her, he returned and came to where Pwyll was sitting. "Lord," he said, "the horse cannot do any better than you have seen." "I have seen that it is useless for anyone to pursue her," Pwyll replied, "and between me and God," he said, "she has a message for someone on this plain, had her obstinacy not stopped her from delivering it. Let us return to the court." They came to the court and spent that night singing and carousing until they were contented. The next day they amused themselves until it was time to go and eat. When they had finished eating, Pwyll said, "Where are those who were with me yesterday and the day before on top of the mound?" "Here we are, Lord," they said. "Let us go to the mound to sit," he said. "And you," he said to his groom, "saddle my horse well and bring it to the road and bring along my spurs." The groom did that. They came to the mound and sat down. They were there hardly any time at all when they saw the rider coming along the same road, in the same manner and at the same pace. "Groom," said Pwyll, "I see the rider. Give me my horse." Pwyll mounted his horse, and no sooner had he mounted his horse than she rode past him. He turned after her and let his spirited prancing horse go at its own pace. And he thought that at the second leap or the third he would catch up with her, but he was no closer to her than before. He urged his horse to go as fast as possible, but he saw that it was useless for him to pursue her. Then Pwyll said, "Maiden," he said, "for the sake of the man you love most, wait for me." "I will wait gladly," she said, "and it would have been better for the horse if you had asked that a while ago." The maiden stopped and waited, and drew back the part of her headdress which should cover her face, and fixed her gaze on him and began to talk to him. "Lady," he said, "where do you come from, and where are you going?" "Going about my business," she said, "and I'm glad to see you." "My welcome to you," he said, and then he thought that the face of every maiden and every woman he had ever seen was unattractive compared with her face. "Lady," he said, "will you tell me anything about your business?" "I will, between me and God," she said. "My main purpose was to try and see you." "That, to me, is the best business you could have," said Pwyll. "Will you tell me who you are?" "I will, Lord," she said. "I am Rhiannon, daughter of Havavaith Hen, and I'm to be given to a husband against my will. But I have never wanted any man because of my love for you, and I still do not want him unless you reject me, and it is to find out your answer on the matter that I have come." "Between me and God," replied Pwyll, "this is my answer to you. If I could choose from all the women and maidens in the world, it is you that I would choose." "Good," she said. "If that is what you want, before I am given to another man, arrange a meeting with me." "The sooner the better as far as I'm concerned," said Pwyll. "Arrange the meeting wherever you want." "I will, Lord," she said. "A year from tonight, in the court of Havavaith, I will have a feast prepared, ready for when you come." "Gladly," he replied, "and I will be at that meeting." "Lord," she said, "farewell, and remember to keep your promise, and I shall go on my way." They parted, and he went to his retinue and his men. Whatever questions they asked concerning the maiden, he would turn to other matters. Then they spent the year until the appointed time, and Pwyll got ready with 99 horsemen. He set off for the court of Havavaith Hen, and he came to the court, and they welcomed him, and there was a gathering and rejoicing, and great preparations waiting for him, and all the wealth of the court was placed at his disposal. The hall was prepared, and they went to the tables. This is how they sat. Havavaith Hen on one side of Pwyll, and Rhiannon on the other. After that, each according to his rank, they ate and caroused and conversed. As they began to carouse after eating, they saw a tall, regal, auburn-haired lad enter, wearing a garment of brocaded silk. When he came to the upper end of the hall, he greeted Pwyll and his companions. "God's welcome to you, friend, and come and sit down," said Pwyll. "No," he said, "I am a suppliant, and I will make my request." "Do so with pleasure," said Pwyll. "Lord," he said, "my business is with you, and I've come to ask you a favour. Whatever you ask of me, as long as I can get it, it shall be yours." "Oh," said Rhiannon, "why did you give such an answer?" "He has given it, lady, in the presence of noblemen," said the lad. "Friend," said Pwyll, "what is your request?" "The woman I love most you are to sleep with tonight, and it is to ask for her and for the preparations and provisions that are here that I have come." Pwyll was silent, for there was no answer that he could give. "Be silent for as long as you like," said Rhiannon. "Never has a man been more stupid than you have been." "Lady," he said, "I did not know who he was." "That is the man to whom they wanted to give me against my will," she said. "Gwawl, son of Cled, a powerful man with many followers. And since you have given your word, give me to him for fear of bringing disgrace upon yourself." "Lady," he said, "I do not know what sort of answer that is. I can never bring myself to do what you say." "Give me to him," she said, "and I'll see to it that he will never have me." "How will that be?" said Pwyll. "I will give you a little bag," she said, "and keep it safely with you. And he is asking for the feast and the preparations and the provisions. Those are not in your power to give. But I will give the feast to the retinue and the men," she said, "and that will be your answer on the matter. As for me," she said, "I will arrange a meeting a year from tonight for him to sleep with me, and at the end of the year," she said, "you be in the orchard up there with 99 horsemen, and have this bag with you. And when he is in the middle of his entertainment and carousing, come in on your own wearing ragged clothes and carrying the bag," she said, "and ask for nothing but to fill the bag with food. I'll see to it," she said, "that if all the food and drink in these 7 cantrefs were put into it, it would be no fuller than before. And when they're thrown a great deal into it, he will ask you, 'Will your bag ever be full?' You say, 'No, unless an extremely powerful nobleman gets up and treads down the food in the bag with both feet and says, 'Enough has been put in here.' And I will see to it that he goes to tread down the food in the bag. And when he comes, turn the bag so that he goes head over heels into it. Then tie a knot in the strings of the bag. Have a good hunting horn around your neck, and when he is tied up in the bag, give a blast on your horn, and let that be a signal between you and your horsemen. When they hear the blast of the horn, let them descend upon the court." "Lord," said Gwawl, "it is high time that I had an answer to my request." "As much of your request as it is in my power to give, you shall have," said Pwyll. "Friend," said Rhiannon, "as for the feast and the preparations that are here, I have given these to the men of Dyfed and to the retinue and men that are here. I will not let those be given to anyone else. But a year from tonight a feast will be prepared in this court when you, friend, shall sleep with me." Gwawl set off for his realm. Pwyll returned to Dyfed. Each of them spent that year until it was time for the feast in the court of Haveth Hen. Gwawl, son of Cled, came to the feast that had been prepared for him, and he made for the court, and they welcomed him. But Pwyll, Pen and Oven went to the orchard with 99 horses, as Rhiannon had ordered, and the bag with him. Pwyll put on wretched rags and big rag boots on his feet, and when he realised they were about to begin carousing after the meal, he made for the hall, and when he had come to the upper end of the hall, he greeted Gwawl, son of Cled, and his company of men and women. "May God prosper you," said Gwawl, "and God's welcome to you." "Lord," he said, "may God repay you. I have business with you." "Your business is welcome," he said, "and if your request is reasonable, then gladly you shall have it." "Reasonable, Lord," he said. "I ask only to ward off hunger. This is my request, to fill this little bag that you see with food." "That's a modest request," he said, "and you shall have it gladly." "Bring him food," he said. A great number of servants got up and began to fill the bag. But no matter what was thrown into it, it was no fuller than before. "Friend," said Gwawl, "will your bag ever be full?" "Never, between me and God," he said, "no matter what is put in it, unless a nobleman endowed with land and territory and power gets up and treads down the food in the bag with both feet and says, 'Enough has been put in here.'" "My hero," said Rhiannon to Gwawl, son of Clede, "get up quickly." "I will gladly," he said. He gets up and puts both feet in the bag, and Pwyll turns the bag so that Gwawl is head over heels in it, and quickly he closes the bag and ties a knot in the strings and sounds his horn, and immediately the retinue descends on the court, and then they seize the entire company that had come with Gwawl and tie each man up separately, and Pwyll throws off the rags and the rag boots and the untidy clothes. As each one of Pwyll's men entered, he struck the bag a blow and asked, "What's in here?" "A badger," the others said. This is how they played. Each one would strike the bag a blow either with his foot or with a stick, and that is how they played with a bag. Each one as he entered would ask, "So what game are you playing?" "Badger in the bag," the others would say, and that was the first time that Badger in the bag was played. "Lord," said the man from the bag, "if you would only listen to me, killing me in a bag is no fitting death for me." "Lord," said Havath Hen, "what he says is true. You should listen to him. That is not the death for him." "I agree," said Pwyll. "I shall follow your advice on the matter." "This is what I advise," said Rhiannon. "You are in a position where it is expected of you to satisfy suppliants and musicians. Let Gwawl give to everyone on your behalf," she said, "and let him promise that no claim or vengeance shall be sought. That is punishment enough for him." "He accepts that gladly," said the man from the bag. "And I too accept it gladly," said Pwyll, on the advice of Havath and Rhiannon. "That is our advice," they said. "Then I accept it," said Pwyll. "Find guarantors for yourself." "We will answer for him," said Havath, "until his men are free to stand bail for him." Then Gwawl was released from the bag and the chief followers set free. "Now ask Gwawl for guarantors," said Havath. "We know who should be taken from him." Havath listed the guarantors. "Draw up your own conditions," said Gwawl. "I am satisfied with what Rhiannon has drawn up," said Pwyll. The guarantors stood bail on those conditions. "Lord," said Gwawl, "I'm injured and have received many wounds, and I need to bathe, and with your permission I will depart, and I will leave noblemen here on my behalf to answer all those who may make requests of you." "Gladly," said Pwyll. "Do as you propose." Gwawl set off for his realm. Then the hall was prepared for Pwyll and his company, and for the men of the court as well. They went to sit down at the tables, and just as they had sat the year before, each one sat that night. They ate and caroused, and time came to go to sleep. Pwyll and Rhiannon went to the chamber and spent that night in pleasure and contentment. Early the next day, "Lord," said Rhiannon, "get up and begin satisfying the musicians, and do not refuse anyone who requests a gift today." "I will do that gladly," said Pwyll, "today and every day while this feast lasts." Pwyll got up and asked for silence, asking all the suppliants and musicians to present themselves and telling them that each one would be satisfied according to his wish and whim, and that was done. They consumed the feast, and no one was refused it while it lasted. When the feast came to an end, "Lord," said Pwyll to Havath, "with your permission I will set out for Dyfed tomorrow." "Well and good," said Havath. "May God ease your path. Arrange a time and date for Rhiannon to follow you." "Between me and God," said Pwyll, "we will leave here together." "Is that your wish, Lord?" said Havath. "It is, between me and God," said Pwyll. The next day they travelled to Dyfed and made for the court at Arbeth, where a feast had been prepared for them. The best men and women in the land and the realm assembled before them. Neither a man nor woman among them left Rhiannon without being given a notable gift, either a brooch or a ring or a precious stone. They ruled the land successfully that year and the next. But in the third year the noblemen of the land began to worry at seeing a man whom they loved as much as their lord and foster brother without an heir, and they summoned him to them. The place where they met was Preseli in Dyfed. "Lord," they said, "we know that you are not as old as some of the men of this land, but we are afraid that you will not get an heir from the wife that you have, and because of that take another wife from whom you may have an heir. You will not live forever," they said, "and although you may want to stay as you are, we will not allow it." Well, said Pwyll, we've not been together for long yet, and much may happen. Delay the matter until the end of the year. A year from now we will arrange to meet, and I will abide by your decision. The meeting was arranged. Before the whole period had elapsed, a son was born to him, and he was born in Arberth. On the night of his birth, women were brought to keep watch over the boy and his mother, but the women fell asleep, and so too did the boy's mother, Rhiannon. 6 women had been brought to the chamber. They kept watch for part of the night. However, before midnight, each one fell asleep, and woke up towards cockcrow. When they woke up, they looked to see where they had put the boy, but there was no sign of him there. Oh, said one of the women, the boy has disappeared. Truly, said another, burning us alive or putting us to death would be too small a punishment for this. Is there anything in the world we can do? Said one of the women. Yes, there is, said another. I have a good plan, she said. What is that? They said. There is a staghound bitch here, she said, and she has pups. Let us kill some of the pups and smear Rhiannon's face and hands with the blood and throw the bones beside her and swear that she herself destroyed her son. And the word of the 6 of us will prove stronger than hers. They agreed on that. Towards daybreak, Rhiannon woke up and said, My women, she said, where is the boy? Lady, they said, do not ask us for the boy. We are nothing but bruises and blows from struggling with you, and we're certain that we have never seen a woman fight like you did, and it was useless for us to struggle with you. You yourself have destroyed your son, and do not ask us for him. You poor creatures, said Rhiannon, for the sake of the Lord God who knows everything, do not tell lies about me. God who knows everything knows that to be a lie, and if you are afraid, by my confession to God, I will protect you. God knows, they said, we will not let ourselves come to any harm for anyone in the world. You poor creatures, she replied, you shall come to no harm if you tell the truth. Whatever she said out of fairness or pity, she received only the same answer from the women. Then Pwyll, Pen and Nuven got up, and his company and retinue, and the incident could not be concealed. The news spread throughout the land, and all the noblemen heard it, and they gathered together to make the representations to Pwyll, to ask him to divorce his wife for having committed such a terrible outrage. But Pwyll gave his answer. They have no reason to ask me to divorce my wife, unless she has no children. I know that she is a child. I know I will not divorce her. If she has done wrong, let her be punished for it. Rhiannon summoned wise and learned men, and when she thought it better to accept her punishment than argue with the women, she accepted her punishment. This is what it was, to stay at that court in Arberth for 7 years, and there was a mounting block outside the gate, to sit by that every day and tell the whole story to anyone whom she thought might not know it, and offer to carry guests and strangers on her back to the court if they permitted it. But rarely would anyone allow himself to be carried, and so she spent part of the year. At that time, Ternon Turf Liant was lord over Gwent Coed, and he was the best man in the world. In his house he had a mare, and throughout his kingdom no stallion or mare was more handsome. And every May Eve she would give birth, but no one knew at all what became of her foal. One evening Ternon spoke with his wife. My wife, he said, we are careless, losing our mare's offspring every year without giving one of them. What can we do about it? She said. God's vengeance upon me, he said, if I do not find out what fate befalls the foals. Tonight is May Eve. He had the mare brought indoors, and he armed himself and began the night's vigil. As it begins to get dark, the mare gives birth to a big, perfect foal, which stands up on its feet immediately. Ternon gets up to examine the sturdiness of the foal. As he is doing this, he hears a loud noise, and after the noise an enormous claw comes through the window and grabs the foal by its mane. Ternon draws his sword and cuts off the arm at the elbow, so that that part of the arm and the foal with it are inside. Then he hears a noise and a scream at the same time. He opens the door and rushes off after the noise. He cannot see the cause of the noise because the night is so dark, but he rushes after it and follows it. Then he remembers that he has left the door open, and he returns, and by the door there is a small boy in swaddling clothes with a mantle of brocaded silk wrapped around him. He picks up the boy and sees that he is strong for his age. Rhiannon fastened the door and made for the room where his wife was. "My lady," he said, "are you asleep?" "No, my lord," she said. "I was asleep, but when you came in I woke up." "Here is a son for you if you want," he said, "something you have never had." "Lord," she said, "what happened?" "I will tell you everything," said Rhiannon, and he told her the whole story. "Well, Lord," she said, "how is the boy dressed?" "In a mantle of brocaded silk," he said. "Then he is the son of noble people," she said. "Lord," she said, "it would be a pleasure and delight to me, should you agree, to take women into my confidence and say that I have been pregnant." "I will agree with you gladly on the matter," he said. This was done, and they had the boy baptized in the way it was done at that time. This was the name that they gave him, Gyrru Wacht I Oren. All the hair on his head was as yellow as gold. The boy was brought up at the court until he was a year old. And before he was a year old, he was walking strongly and was sturdier than a well-developed and well-grown 3-year-old boy. The boy was reared a 2nd year, and he was as sturdy as a 6-year-old, and before the end of the 4th year, he was bargaining with the stable boys to be allowed to water the horses. "Lord," said his wife to Rhiannon, "where is the foal you saved that night you found the boy?" "I ordered it to be given to the stable boys," he said, "and told them to look after it." "Would it not be good, Lord, for you to have it broken in and given to the boy?" she said. "For on the night you found the boy, the foal was born, and you saved it." "I will not disagree with that," said Rhiannon. "I will let you give it to him." "Lord," she said, "may God repay you. I will give it to him." Then the horse was given to the boy, and she went to the grooms and stable boys to tell them to look after the horse, and to break it in, for the boy would go riding, and report on its progress. Meanwhile, they heard news of Rhiannon and her punishment. Because of what he had found, Rhiannon Liant listened out for news and inquired constantly about the matter, until he heard increased complaints about the wretchedness of Rhiannon's misfortune and punishment from the very many people who visited the court. Rhiannon reflected on this and looked closely at the boy. He realised that he had never seen a son and father so alike as the boy and Pwyll and Rhiannon. Pwyll's appearance was known to Rhiannon, for he had previously been a vassal of his. Then grief seized him because of how wrong it was for him to keep the boy when he knew that he was another man's son. As soon as he had the first chance to talk privately with his wife, he told her that it was not right for them to keep the boy, nor to let a noblewoman as good as Rhiannon be punished so terribly for it, when the boy was the son of Pwyll and Rhiannon. Rhiannon's wife agreed to send the boy to Pwyll. "And we shall get 3 things, Lord, as a result of that," she said. "Thanks and gratitude for releasing Rhiannon from her punishment, and thanks from Pwyll for rearing the boy and restoring him. And thirdly, if the boy proves to be a considerate man, he will be our foster son, and he will always do his best for us." They agreed on that. No later than the next day, Rhiannon prepared himself with 2 other riders, and the boy a 4th on the horse that Rhiannon had given him. They travelled towards Arbeth, and it was not long before they arrived. As they approached the court, they saw Rhiannon sitting by the mounting block. When they drew level with her, "My lord," she said, "go no further. I shall carry each of you to the court, and that is my punishment for killing my own son and destroying him." "My lady," said Rhiannon, "I do not imagine that any one of these will ride on your back." "If anyone wants to, then let him do so," said the boy. "I certainly will not." "God knows, my friend," said Rhiannon, "neither will we." They made for the court, and there was great joy at their arrival. A feast was about to begin at court. Pwyll himself had just returned from a circuit of Dyfed. They went into the hall and to wash themselves. Pwyll welcomed Rhiannon, and they went to sit. This is how they sat. Rhiannon between Pwyll and Rhiannon, with Rhiannon's 2 companions above Pwyll, and the boy between them. When they had finished eating at the beginning of the carousel, they conversed. Rhiannon told the whole story about the mare and the boy, and how he and his wife had taken the boy into their charge, and how they had brought him up. "And this is your son, my lady," said Rhiannon, "and whoever told lies against you did wrong. And when I heard of your affliction, I was saddened and distressed, and I imagine there is no one in this entire company who does not recognise that the boy is Pwyll's son, said Terinon. No one doubts it, said everyone. Between me and God, said Rhiannon, what a relief from my anxiety if that were true. My lady, said Pendaran Dyfed, you have named your son well. Pryderi, son of Pwyll, Pen Anfwyn, suits him best. Make sure that his own name does not suit him better, said Rhiannon. What is his name, said Pendaran Dyfed. We call him Guri Wacht Erin. Pryderi shall be his name, said Pendaran Dyfed. That is most appropriate, said Pwyll, to take the boy's name from the word his mother uttered when she received joyous news about him, and they agreed on that. Terinon said, Pwyll, God repay you for raising this boy until now. It is proper for him, if he proves to be a considerate man, to compensate you for it. Lord, said Terinon, as for the woman who raised him, there is no one in the world who is grieving after him more than her. It is right for him to remember what we did for him, for my sake and hers. Between me and God, said Pwyll, as long as I live I will maintain both you and your realm, as long as I am able to maintain my own. If he lives to maturity, it is more appropriate for him to maintain you than for me. And with your agreement and that of these noblemen, since you have raised him until now, we will give him to Pendaran Dyfed to foster from now on. But you shall all be his companions and his foster fathers. That is sound advice, said everyone. Then the boy was given to Pendaran Dyfed, and the noblemen of the land allied themselves to him. Terinon Turfliant and his companions set off for his land and his realm, full of love and joy, and he did not depart without having been offered the fairest jewels and the best horses and the most highly prized dogs, but he wanted nothing. They stayed in their own realm after that, and Pryderi, son of Pwyll Pen Anfwyn, was brought up carefully as was proper, until he was the most handsome lad, and the fairest and the most accomplished at every worthy feat in the kingdom. And so years and years passed, until Pwyll Pen Anfwyn's life came to an end, and he died. And Pryderi ruled the 7 cantrefs of Dyfed successfully, beloved by his realm and all those around him. After that he conquered the 3 cantrefs of Ystrad and the 4 cantrefs of Ceredigion, and these are called the 7 cantrefs of Saesulich. Pryderi, son of Pwyll Pen Anfwyn, was occupied with that conquest until he decided to take a wife. The wife he wanted was Cigfa, daughter of Gwyn Gahoe, son of Gloi Weltidan, son of Casner Uledig, nobleman of this land. And so ends this branch of the Mabinogion.